It's discoverability. And what is that? What are we going to be talking about? Well, essentially, how do you find out about the things in accessibility that are around in all kinds of operating systems and different kinds of specialist software? We probably won't go into so much of the specialist software, but we will have at the end a short demonstration of some accessibility options that you will find. The aims of the session is to give insights into the way accessibility can be found, and that will help users and organizations. We'll also look at some of the obstacles that block the passing of knowledge and to suggest some ways to disseminate knowledge more widely. That's something that we feel is very important at this point in our history. Now, the key point that we have is lack of knowledge versus sharing knowledge. This balance is what makes it difficult for people to access the accessibility options. In other words, you don't know what's under the bonnet of your computer system that can enable you to overcome barriers. People with disabilities don't necessarily know the technology and therefore would find it difficult to find it. In other words, you don't know what you don't know. And that is a key question I meet every time I meet somebody who has made an inquiry to us as an AbilityNet volunteer client in asking for help for their solutions. I love the way AbilityNet do it because it works. It's one-on-one training. And for many people, that is a very key component to how they can acquire skills. So if we don't have that understanding of what is under the bonnet and what can actually help us, we can't ask the question. And that is the crux of the problem. I like this quote from Martin Luther King Jones. Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Unfortunately, we see that in quite a number of areas of our life in the way that things are given. Some people want to hold on to knowledge rather than share it. I am of the former opinion that information, particularly about access, is integral and fundamental. And certainly some of the sessions that I've attended this morning, that's really been hammered home, particularly inclusivity. And a message that's key to us is it's useful for some, it's useful for all, but essential for some. That is the main kind of arching thing that works with that. And you can't appreciate what a disabled person's needs are without looking through their eyes. And you have to have empathy and an understanding of the need allied with the technological understanding of accessibility. As I put it, I'm the glue between the client and the technology, which is really important. So I think that is an essential component to this. Let's take, for example, Parkinson's disease. And you see a slow shuffling of walking, which is an essential part of it, and then tremor in the hands, and then loss of abilities. And this stoop and this mask-like face and this rigidity and all of these things that are appearing here is one of the things that actually really causes a huge difficulty to people. This is a really limiting life disease. And of course, there are two famous people on the right that we can relate to, Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay and Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly said, I've got Parkinson's disease, but I wish he kept it to himself. And so what kind of solutions would assistive technology make to this? And basically, you've got solutions like speech recognition. And I had a client once who had Parkinson's disease, and his hand control was virtually impossible. The shaking of the hands is a key feature as well as the shuffling. And so I would use speech recognition. And the people in his home decided that it was a good thing if they switched on all the accessibility features, such as captioning, magnification, all kinds of things. He had the full gamut, but that in a way made him further disabled. It's cherry picking the right technological solutions to meet that need. And so for that particular client's need, it was speech recognition. For another client, it was the ability to have switches so that he could choose between 2 or 3 options using a switch. A switch is essentially like a light switch, but for a computer, it basically just does on and off or move something on or emulates the spacebar of the enter key. And then finally, you have smart speakers. If the hands are not functioning, then it really leaves you with just your voice. And smart speakers are great at doing many tasks. But just a little caveat about smart speakers, they often don't do emails. And that is something that is really important. There was an option for this years ago, but sadly, probably due to our GDPR system, it was removed from the Alexa app. So there are obstacles that could really be opened up and made more accessible for people. So that's just an example of an actual disability and how this approach of empathy and understanding the way things work is possible. And then we have lots of accessibility out there, but few people know about it. That lack of awareness in IT is improving, but it's still got a long way to go in the eyes of the public. In other words, we can actually overestimate the capability of our organizations and of the knowledge of public. For many people, particularly those of a senior age, they have never had to use emails or search the web. And so it goes back to the very basic terminology of what a computer can do and the different words that point to it. I cannot stress that enough. We cannot assume prior knowledge. That lack of awareness to finding solutions that could overcome the disabilities is the nature of what you and I are trying to do. I'm assuming my audience have some interest in this and maybe some skills in this. We can talk about this at the end of the session, which I will allow questions to come in. And then there's ways to address this problem. Raising awareness in key people in organizations and IT departments. That's what this conference is all about. And we have volunteers who can actually promote that in the solutions of meeting client needs by talking to groups of charities and different disability groups, but also to the individual clients who have a question that they need to answer. And then there is a need for ongoing training because technology, and particularly assistive technology, is changing by the hour. And it's really important that we have ongoing training. And that is very important for key people in your organization to keep being updated about the latest developments. And of course, the buzzword at the moment is AI, artificial intelligence. More of that at the end. And let's develop the thinking. And I've heard this so much today that's really encouraged me that accessibility is not an addition. It's an essential thinking and knowledge as culture. It's got to be a culture in your organization, and you are the motivators and the key people because you're showing interest in this. And that's really essential for change. If we all take a part of the rope, we will find that we have the ability to do that. And the converse of that, until every one of us takes a bit of this, we won't win the contest. And you can see it's a bit of a tug of war, a trade-off, if you like, between functionality, aesthetics, and accessibility. So if you're a web designer, your website may be very pretty. Is it also very accessible? And I do hope that you do understand and have done what you can do to make that the case. So it's accessible for screen readers, accessible for the visually impaired, and all kinds of other disabilities. And it only takes one bit of that equation to go missing for the whole house of cards to fall down in a process. And if you're neurodivergent, that is also very important, because if that happens to you, you will find that if you miss a step, you cannot complete the task. It's a process issue. So how do we change hearts and minds? How do we get a positive attitude to changing everything? And that's attitudes to disability. And thankfully, we live in a country that recognizes, ever since the pandemic, ever since the Paralympics, which really changed and put in the forefront disability, people now have an acceptance. As an educator, I have seen huge changes from when I started, where people with learning disabilities were called mentally handicapped, and I was trained as a teacher of the severe learning difficulties or mental abnormalities. It was a very negative phrase. And so we have changed our attention over decades, over our terminology has changed. And really, what we should be asking and encouraging our given organizations is to make some reasonable adjustments as standards. And understanding the needs of people who are, as I prefer the term, differently abled. That's a much more positive words. Words are important, and they determine how we view people, and that changes hearts and minds. And then applying the technological solution with assistive technology. That is why it's important that we have people like us who are interested in the technology, but also in the need. So what are my key messages? Successful changes comes when everybody takes a bit of the responsibility and making accessibility the norm in any organization. I suspect this isn't new news to you, but it's just useful to state it. And then changing hearts and minds will take time. And from that ignorance and that protectiveness to a common practice that develops a culture of accessibility, and demonstrating it and modeling it so that actually people can see that it makes a difference. And that is something that we are trying in the work that I'm doing with BATA and the project that I will tell you about in a minute. So ways we can show it. This is the most important thing. How do we get the message out there? Well, a demonstration of the tools to groups would be useful. Online webinars. But again, if somebody doesn't use the web or understand how to do it, you won't be able to reach those people with that means. So it really involves using different means for different kinds of client groups. Website entries, training discussions, if you're part of an organization with trainers, so that accessibility is, as in the bake-off, baked in to your delivery. And then network discussions with leaders and those who make decisions in your organization. I just came off a discussion with somebody from HSBC. I listened to the talk, and he says that the CEO is committed to making their organization inclusive, and inclusive in the broadest terms, from LGBT plus pride to physical and mental, all neurodiversity, all of them. And then there's one-to-one problem solving. I would love to think and say to you that all accessibility in every operating system is totally solving the problem. But my experience is it's a bit like the old Carlsberg advert. It's good, but it's not Carling. And it therefore isn't a full solution. And we're looking for it. And I just mentioned to you that I really would love to see a speech-driven computer completely. I have a client who is blind without any hand function and relies on her voice to do everything. But screen readers don't interact well with operating systems if they're not baked in. And that is something that is badly needed at this time to make it work effectively. And then lastly, let's give a simple message. And essentially, we've come up with this phrase, essential for some, useful for all. And I think many organizations could take that up as a mission statement and develop it into their work. So what is this discoverability I'm talking about? What is it that can enable us to develop this ability to find solutions to help us? And the good news is there's useful stuff on the horizon. Yeah, Google is my best friend to solve many of my problems, because it will just say, okay, yeah, let's give you the steps to how to change that particular option. As I said, we're not in the situation where when you switch the machine on, it just does it. And that is the point. And I often refer back to Star Trek in 1967. Captain Kirk was able to control his computer, have visuals shown, and it would give him solutions. I know Star Trek and science is often linked together, and being a fan of that, I can see that. And yet we're not there quite yet. It's there, but we haven't joined the dots. And what we're seeing at the moment is the emergence of AI. Now, for me in education, I call it smart searching. And literally the input, what you put in is what you get out, is a very, very important point with AI. And it must never be taken as gospel truth, but you could actually look at it, edit it, and make it work for you. Also, common sense. I know that sounds like I'm treating you a little bit patronizingly. I don't mean it, but some people don't actually get it sometimes because they've never been in that position of disability. I remember one classroom I was in, and the teacher actually asked us to to observe what was going on, why this child wasn't using his laptop. He was hemiplegic. That means he hadn't got the use of one side of his body, and his computer lied in his bag on the floor. And I don't know if you might like to try this at home. Hemiplegic, one-handed, and try opening your laptop bag and see how far you get one-handedly. And so the teacher insisted that he had to pick up his laptop bag and unzip it and take the laptop out. Once I showed her what it was like and even got her to try and do it herself, she got it. Now, you would think people would understand that problem right away. Doesn't quite work like that. And sometimes we just have to spell things out and ask the questions that will really work for them. And then that will provide a solution they're looking for. And so what we try and do is listen and have that empathy and answer their questions, however simple, however wrongly termed, however it may look to each of us. Now, I know that I'm talking of individuals, and you may be a large organization, but I hopefully have shown you some systemic changes you can put into operation. We at AbilityNet approach it from many different angles, and My Computer, My Way is on our website, and it will give you little hints and tips of how you can make your device easier to use with vision, hearing, physical disability, that's what motor stands for, and cognitive, which is for those people who struggle with reading and writing and processes. So we have helpful step-by-step guides. And of course, you as an organization might have your own, or you may well make use of this. It's all for free, and everything that we're trying to do is make life possible for those who struggle with their limitations through disability. And then lastly, I just want to introduce you to this project that I've been involved with for the last 2 years. I am a council member, as I said, for the British Assistive Technology Association, and they kindly sponsored this to enable us to produce 3 films that show the transformative power of assistive technology in education. And I'll just play you this clip. It only lasts a couple of minutes, so please watch. Sorry, I'll start again and just keep it in the window.
I can think of one child, and their early journey in education was very much dictated by their behaviour within the classroom. They were actually unable to access the curriculum or put any output because of the barriers that they had.
When I was growing up, because I didn't have the assistive technology, I always thought, you're not smart, you're not as clever as other people.
When I moved to secondary school, kind of just went, oh, you're fine. But I wasn't really fine.
Using assistive technologies is valuable for all, but it's vital for some.
The technology that we introduce is available to everybody across a college of nearly 5,000 students.
There's not always going to be someone there to read for them or to write for them. This is where our assistive technologies come in to help them to do that for themselves.
If it's good inclusion for some, it's good inclusion for all. I feel that there's been fantastic opportunities to be inspired by the work of others out there.
This technology has allowed everyone to achieve, and there's then also no stigma around it.
That child's behaviour significantly changed from the moment we introduced the technology for them.
I believe it's very important for the students to actually have the knowledge of the programme.
It allows me to do my homework faster and in greater detail.
So it's definitely helped being able to express what I want to write about.
And it's made writing a lot easier and a lot neater.
It was a way for me to focus on my work.
When you use it, it just makes you a lot happier.
It's definitely boosted my confidence so much.
It's not just people with dyslexia, it's everybody that needs it.
We're enabling our future generation to all be at the same level and have the same access.
So we're aiming to provide that for all schools in the UK. That's our ambition, all 22,412. And we want them to get the message. And the simple message we're asking also is, well, what do I do next after I've seen the films? Well, if they could only introduce two technologies, text-to-speech and speech-to-text, and that is in most mainstream packages that are in schools. Also, we want to improve the access for primary schools. Many of the students told us that they didn't have any support at primary level, and they actually only heard of assistive technology, which is a term that's used in the world, but not necessarily in education, until they got to secondary school. So we're launching these for free of charge. There is no cost to this. They're between 15 and 20 minutes, covering the importance of AT in education, lost in transition, which is between primary and secondary school, and the last one, which is using the assistive technology. And the launch date is the 21st of November. And we've got a hashtag, Power of AT, and the website at the bottom, that will give you the link. What you would do there is fill in the form, and you will get the links to download these films. And we just want to get the message out there. So when we're talking about discoverability, we're thinking with great ambition to impact the education world with this particular project. So do, by all means, do check in with us and put your interest down. All we ask is that you say who you are and where you're going to show the film and what school or setting that you're showing it in. We want to measure the impact and how this might help schools to feel that something is achievable. It also is backed up with a resource. We have a mini guide, which is on the NASEN site, which is NASEN, N-A-S-E-N site, that you can download for Senkos and teachers. It's a 48-page mini guide that really helps with you actually putting it into practice if you're a teacher. And this is a question I could ask for you in a minute, but what I want to do is come out of here and just stop sharing for a minute, or rather finish this presentation, end show. That's it. And I just want to show you a couple of things that are really important for getting this technology, what examples there are of how this works. So the very first thing I want to show you is what we call white theme. And if I go into my Word document, sorry, it's dark theme. It's got white writing on it. But for visually impaired people, this may actually help them to see that toolbar at the top. And that's built in to Word. There's also a tool called Grammarly that you can add in, and it will analyze text and give you examples. This is possible. Okay, so I've misspelt that. I open up the add-in, which is free, and hopefully you can see there are two possible things that I can do. It's picked up the misspelling. I've also switched on something called typing suggestions, which gives you another way to make it work. But let's choose that one. It shows you where you went wrong, and it shows you the possibility. There is no cost to this. It's built in to the device. And then if we go into, this is Windows 11, and Windows 11 has two features that are really important. If I go into settings, they have thankfully changed what was ease of access in Windows 10 to the more common sentence accessibility. And in terms of elderly or seniors, they often suffer eye problems, cataracts, and macular degeneration. And they can't always see the text. So we can increase the size of text, which you can see here in the window, and that can be applied across the whole of the operating system. Or you could use the magnifier, which when I switch it on, I've got it on what's called the lens rather than the whole thing, because I can move it around the page and see elements blown up for you. This again is built into the system. There is no additional cost. And of course, there are free screen readers, NVDA being one of them, and you'll see them on the stands if you were here at the exhibition, but you can look it up on the website. And then finally, something that really I find fascinating is because Microsoft bought out Nuance, which created the speech recognition software. And you're able to control the computer with many of the commands that Dragon speech recognition, which will cost you £649 at the moment. Used to be 119, but the latest version, Dragon 16, costs that. Don't ask me why. I have not a clue. So I'm going to use my voice now to show you one or two things. Voice access wake up. Start Microsoft Word. Show numbers. 26. Show numbers. 19. I can now write with my voice using this built-in option, full stop. And that's just a short demonstration of some of the things that can happen. And I just wanted to show you that before we move into a question and a question and answer session. Is that being shown on the screen? Have you been able to see what I've just done?
Yes.
Thank you. Right. I seem to have lost my presentation, my place here. Don't know what's gone wrong there. Okay. Sorry about this, folks. Yeah, could you?
Hi all, just where Myles is pausing to find the presentation, which he's done, I just wanted to let you know, apparently there's a bit of an issue with the Q&A and the chat. You can't see what I'm writing, but I'm basically saying If anyone would like to put any questions to Myles, we're going to use the raise hand symbol at the back at the end of Myles' presentation. He'll let us know when he's ready for questions. But as I say, apologies that we can't do it through the chat. Many thanks. Back to you, Myles.
Okay, well, I'm ready for those questions. Has any come in, Sam? By the way, this is Sam, and she's been ably helping me today. Thank you, Sam.
So, as I say, we haven't been able to see any questions, but now is your time, you lovely attendees. If any of you have a question for Myles, then please do raise a hand and we'll make sure that I do whatever's necessary to allow you to talk and ask a question to Myles. Thank you, Myles, for that very informative presentation. I certainly learned something and I hope everyone else did too. So any questions, let me know.
Hi, Myles.
Well, here's something. Let's discuss this because there certainly is a need to have this question answered. So I'm just going to put it up there again. What single change could you make to your organization that would spread the knowledge of assistive technology to the wider public? What single change could you make to your organization that could help to spread that knowledge? Now, I don't know if anybody would like to just share that in the comments or explain it to the comments. They can't access the comments. Can we speak to them?
If they raise their hands on the thing, then I can let them in.
Hello. Hi, Myles. Can you hear me?
I'll keep it on the screen. Julius Davison has raised hand.
Yeah.
Okay, Julius.
Right.
Hi, Myles. Can you hear me?
I can see a chat. Hello.
Can you hear me?
If you're having problems accessing the chat, please raise your hand. Okay.
Hello.
What is your question, Julius?
Can you hear me, Myles? Hello.
Sorry, this is the interpreter speaking.
Can we unmute you?
Julius speaking.
He is unmuted.
He is unmuted.
He is speaking.
Okay.
I, the interpreter, can hear Julius speaking. I don't know if anybody else can.
Rach, maybe you can relay my question then.
Yeah, Julius.
Well, I can't see him.
I don't know if they can hear me.
List. Perhaps he's left the meeting.
I don't think they
That's
can
a
hear
shame.
anyone.
I'd like to have talked to him. Okay. Anybody else got an answer to these questions?
Thank you, Rach.
To this question about how you would make a single change. Remember, again, it can be put in the chat and no question too small. No, okay, you can't put it in the chat.
Hello.
Okay, well, we're sorry about the technical issues there, but if I could just mention some part of that answer. The single change, why is it a single change? Well, in terms of teaching, there is a huge difficulty because teachers are so pressed for time and they have so many initiatives. I couldn't expect them to introduce more than one or two changes. So we centered on that speech text to speech, because when we were interviewing the 20 plus pupils, and that was unique about the films of the power assisted technology, is that we went out and filmed pupil voices. We went to pupils and asked them about their journey through education. And that really revealed some surprising things to us. One of which was that most of them said that speech to text and text to speech transformed their lives. And that's something that could be used in changing our education system for those who are neurodivergent or have dyslexia and other associated needs. So that's the kind of example I'm mentioning. So maybe look at the technology that you're using and whether you need specialist access tools or whether you need to just use what's baked in or built in to the operating system, then that certainly will make a difference to you or your organization. Okay.
Apparently, Myles, there are some hands raised, but unfortunately I can't see them. Louise can. We're trying to work out a way that we can get these questions to you, Myles.
Okay.
So bear with us.
Perhaps if anybody's got a pigeon, maybe now is the time to send it to us.
Yes, but I can hear you, Julius, so do you want to relay your question?
Okay, I'm sorry that you're having this problem.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can't see who's raised their hands, but I am going down the list. It says allowed to talk. So has anybody got somebody there I can allow to talk?
Yep, I'm talking right now. It's Louise, and I can hear Julius.
Okay.
So if we just...
Some people have got microphones.
I'm allowing everyone in to talk.
Allowing everybody in. Maybe we can do it that way. I'll tell you what, I'll stop the share and we'll see. It's probably the share that's causing the problem. Okay, let's try now.
Hello.
If anybody would like to ask that. Oh, Julius, did you have a question?
Yes. If anyone can relay this to Myles.
Myles, you are stupid. You knocked out the sound. Can you see everybody there?
I can see everybody.
Okay. I'm just going to, I actually cut off the sound reverberating. So I'll just turn it down a little bit. Okay, Julius, you want to mention that question?
Yes, can you hear me, Myles?
I can! Hooray!
Brilliant.
What's your question, sir?
An example of why it's important to ensure that technology is accessible to all. If you could just, you did touch on it there, but particularly for neurodivergent individuals and supporting them, if you've got any suggestions as to assistive technology, particularly sort of Microsoft related, on a Microsoft estate or any other software. There's one software that I've come across, it's called Glean, which auto translates, it provides closed captioning and auto transcriptions for Teams meetings. But if there's anything else that might help support neurodivergent individuals.
Yes, certainly. I mean, in terms of Microsoft, we could talk about Dictate, and that's built into the home bar, and also Immersive Reader, which covers across all of the packages of Microsoft. That's one tool. Glean records speech and encourages active listening, but I would also mention the use of mind maps. Packages like MindView, Inspiration, and if you could bear the German, MindMeister, which is an online mind view, because that helps to create links and form basically the ability to connect between ideas. Important for neurodivergent people who may get lost in the detail, particularly high-functioning Asperger's syndrome. So that's for primary age children, clicker and the use of scanning pens would be very helpful for children with neurodivergent needs. So that's another idea.
So, sorry, what was the last one? Your line, the line wasn't very clear. You said clicker, and what was the second solution?
Reading pens, scanning pens.
Oh, okay, scanning pens.
Right. I'm going to try a headset. Just give me a minute. This might have to cut out the background noise that we're getting. So I'll go quiet. Okay, is that better? I'm certainly not getting an echo now.
Yes, it is. And you answered my question, so thank you very much.
Not at all. An absolute delight. I'm glad we got there.
Any other questions?
If anybody wants to raise their hand, we can ask you to unmute.
No, they're all kind of gobsmacked. Either that or I've done a terrible job and they all hate it. So they're not going to tell me anything like that. But I think we're a very key time in our education. Joanne.
Hi, I hope my audio works. Can you hear me?
Brilliant. Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. So I work for Department for Work and Pensions in Birmingham and Solihull, and I'm a prison work coach team leader, as well as a partnership manager leading on vulnerabilities across the board. And I've worked a long time with AbilityNet, going back to when I was a disability employment advisor. So I think what you do is amazing. I think the conference has been fantastic. But I think what frustrates me is I'm continually banging the drum to encourage more use of accessibility technology. But as a government organisation, we hit blockers around we shouldn't be commercially favouring one market provider over another. And in my instance in Birmingham, we have a lot of people with language difficulties, and I know AbilityNet specifically focuses on disabilities, but there are people that are coming into the UK who perhaps have never been to school, or who may even be dyslexic, neurodiverse, have sight issues, as well as trying to learn the English language. So my question really is, and I don't expect you to answer it really, but I'm just putting it out there, is how do we improve our knowledge around language translation tools, which I am working on with Microsoft at the moment, but there's a lot of language companies out there, devices, instant translators, but how do we do it in a way that doesn't show we're favouring one market provider over another, and we can be completely neutral and impartial? Do you have any ideas?
Yes, provide more than one option or solution. We hit the same problem in BATA, because what we want to be able to do is be able to actually have more than one idea about how to solve that problem, and then we're not favoriting one, we're just saying here's a selection, choose which one, because there's more than one solution you can adopt. Sam, can I ask you to mute your speaker, your microphone? Okay, so
there seems to be quite a lot of difficulties though with the language translation side of things, because where there's a wealth of info out there for disability, I only actually have got a good working relationship with one instant translator provider. I won't necessarily mention that one on here now, but and also the obvious Microsoft, which spans everything. It's in all computers. So I think it's just when you look at prison leavers, over 50% are functionally illiterate, and over 50% generally have a neurodiverse condition, as well as potentially language issues. So it would be good to identify those other two, another two at least, language providers, to give us that option,
Are you aware that the Edge browser has instant translation of websites? But the major point is, I used to work with the Ethnic Minority Achievement Services, and there was a huge debate about whether they should be using their own language or whether they should be learning English. Big debate. And the automated systems weren't at that time, which was several years ago, that good about it. But I think we need bridging tools. I use an app called Say to Go, which it's not instant and it slows the communication process down, but it does give that option to speak to people. But it's a very good point, and thanks for raising it, because it is an issue. We can't just think of accessibility with just people who speak our language, and you've hit upon a very key point about different backgrounds and different education systems. So there isn't one particular solution that fits all, but I do think it will help us to get to a new kind of way of working, particularly if AI gets involved in terms of translation, making that a little bit more accurate. Because I think, I know everybody says Google Translate, well actually speaking to native speakers, they say, it's not quite what it is. But, you know, it's better than nothing, but nothing may be better than wrong translation. I'm sure you would agree.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for your talk. Okay, we've just got time for just one more question. Has anybody got a burning issue?
Can I just say I'm very sorry. I'm late, Myles. I'm glad this one is being recorded.
That's fine. You'll get to see all the beeps and squeaks. I know, Sebastian, and welcome. And I wonder if you've got any insights into that last question. Because I know you do. You're in a position where you're working with students from different cultures. So please share your knowledge with us.
Absolutely. I didn't get the name of the person asking the questions, but
it's Joanna Statham. No relation to Jason.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't
I know the name.
resist it.
Joanna, if you can private message me, you can send me your email address. We can maybe connect later when there's more time. You've probably gathered I have an accent, so English isn't my mother tongue. And also I use sign language as I'm profoundly deaf, but also I work with the international community at a very established Russell Group institution in London, whose name I cannot mention, as Myles will probably attest. But I do have the lived and shared experiences that I can share with you regarding language translations and things like this, and the lack of inclusivity around this. And it is about inclusivity, not accessibility. It does very much lacking in services. Myles is very much nodding there. So yeah, if you want to contact me off screen.
Thank you. Could you just tell me your name again?
It's Sebastian. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know how many people are in this meeting, but I can't use the chat function. It's disabled in this one.
I can't see the participants. That's my issue. I don't know why.
Okay.
So Sebastian.
Yeah, let me spell that for you. It's SEBASTIAAN.
Okay.
At ELD. RITCH.
Yeah.
Joanna, if you need to, I can contact Sebastian as well.
Yeah, that might be easier.
Here's my email address, which is dead simple: Myles, MYLES, at A for Apple, S for sugar, 123.com. And if anybody wants to, shall I repeat it again? Myles at AAS123.com. And if anybody wants to contact me regarding what I've talked about, or have a question they want to talk privately about with us on this, then please reach out.
I think from what Joanne's been saying, with my experience, it's as a native sign language user, I'd had to learn to speak, and not being mother tongue English is about not so much translation, it's about coding. And my brain does a lot of recoding. So I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, let's catch up later. I'm looking forward to that conversation, actually.
I must say, this is what networking's about. We got the right people in the room. How amazing is that? It works. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Joanna.
You're very welcome.
And thanks to everybody. I'm going to switch back to Sam now, and I will mute myself. She wants to just finish off.
Okay, thank you everyone that attended this sessions with Myles. Big thanks to Myles for sharing his information with us. And please be aware that this session has been recorded. So if any of you need to go back, then it's available for you. But good luck with the rest of the day, and we're finishing. Many thanks.
Thank you, Sam. I'll see you later, Myles.